Welcome into Philadelphia Eagles Now. I'm Chase Senior. No matter where you are or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. As for what we're getting into on today's show, taking a look at Mel Kiper's draft grades for the Birds. But first, make sure you subscribe to the channel here. We absolutely crushed our draft coverage. And these are all reasons why you should subscribe to the channel, because we're giving you content every single day. If you love the Eagles, subscribe. If you hate the Cowboys, subscribe. You despise the New York Giants, subscribe. And if we all can come into an agreement that the Washington Commanders are frauds, you subscribe to the channel. Also, with what Howie Roseman did in the draft, he's a gangster. He's a genius. So if you agree with me on that, subscribe to the channel. You see what I'm doing here? Go Birds. Now, today's Philadelphia Eagles Now is presented by Rhone. You can get 20% off site-wide by heading to rhone.com/chatsports, and make sure you plug in that promo code chatsports for that deal to apply. Men's closets were due for a radical reinvention. Rhone stepped up to the challenge. Their commuter collection, the most comfortable, breathable, flexible set of products known to man, and here's why. They literally have products for anything that you run into in life. They help you get ready for any occasion, and it's all a part of the Rhone Commuter Collection, which offers the world's most comfortable pants, dress shirts, quarter zips, and polos. You never have to worry about what to wear when you have the Rhone Commuter Collection. Mobility is everything. These shirts are really flexible and stretchable. Their comfortable four-way stretch fabric is amazing, and it provides breathability and flexibility that leaves you free to enjoy whatever life throws your way, from sitting in a cubicle to your commute to work to 18 holes of golf. Looking good, also easy, and you can look good with the new Rhone Commuter Collection. Feel confident without the hassle here. With their wrinkle release technology, wrinkles disappear as you stretch and wear the products, and it's that easy. It also has odor-free technology, so you won't be stinking up the joint for your significant other. One more time, it's rhone.com/chatsports, RHONE.com/chatsports, promo code chatsports for that deal to apply. So let's shift gears back to Mel Kiper's draft grades for the Birds here. Going into the draft, he thought that the top needs for Philadelphia: defensive end, defensive tackle, safety, running back, guard. As we know, with the NFL draft in the rear view, Howie Roseman in the front office did a masterful job, and they were able to check off a lot of those boxes there. Here's a quick look at all of the Eagles selections. You get Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith in that first round. It's now the Philadelphia Bulldogs here with that Georgia connection. Tyler Steen, the offensive tackle out of Alabama, taken round 365. I think is probably going to play guard for this offense. The pick after that, you get Sidney Brown at 66 overall, the hard-hitting safety from Illinois who has a knack for making big plays. Keely Ringo, what a steal in my opinion. You traded up to draft him, and you traded away a third-round pick in next year's draft, but you still have a compensatory pick in the third round in 2024. Tanner McKee, the quarterback out of Stanford, he's going to compete with Ian Book for those QB3 reps, and then Moro Ojomo, the defensive lineman out of Texas, the Eagles nab him in round 7. Now, we're going to get to what Mel Kiper had to say about the Eagles draft, but first, what do you think about the Eagles draft? Grade it for me down in the comments section by typing a simple A, B, C, D, or F. You know what I think. I'm giving Howie Roseman and the Eagles an A. Mel Kiper is with me. Must watch the show. He was busy on ESPN. We were busy throughout draft weekend. Thanks to everybody who tuned in to our draft coverage. Kiper giving Howie Roseman and the Eagles an A grade in the draft. This comes after last year's grade in which he handed the Eagles a B+. Here's what he had to say about Jalen Carter here. General Manager Howie Roseman has had an outstanding run in Philadelphia, and he crushed round 1. The Eagles had 2 first-rounders thanks to last year's trade with New Orleans, and they were able to maneuver the board for 2 prospects in my top 12, including the number 1 overall prospect, Jalen Carter, and they landed him at 9th overall. Now, Carter has some off-field questions, Kiper said, but there's no denying his talent level. And if you look at this team's biggest weakness from last year, it was stopping the run. The Eagles ranked 24th in yards allowed per carry at 4.6. And as I wrote on Thursday, putting Carter next to Jordan Davis again makes total sense. And I'm in agreement with Kiper there. My take on the Eagles taking Jalen Carter at number 9, of course, it's a little bit of a risk, but Howie Roseman is always aggressive in trades, in the draft, and overall as a general manager. And the Philadelphia Eagles have a stable of veterans in this locker room to keep Jalen Carter in line. Not only does he have a bunch of his teammates from Georgia over the last couple of years in Nolan Smith, in Keely Ringo, Nakobe Dean, as well as Jordan Davis from a year ago, but also you have some really important team captains in this locker room too, who have been on this team for more than a decade. Brandon Graham, Jason Kelsey, Fletcher Cox. Then you have Jalen Hurts as a team captain, Darius Slay. There are horses inside that locker room who are going to be able to keep Jalen Carter in line. And let's not forget that Nick Sirianni has really developed a masterful culture for the Philadelphia Eagles as an entire organization. And you know what? It starts from the top, and it's a trickle-down effect all the way to the bottom, from Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, to Howie Roseman, to Nick Sirianni, to the players. So I do believe that Jalen Carter can steer clear from some of those character issues that had a lot of teams passing up on him in the NFL draft, which is what allowed him to fall to number 9 for Philadelphia. You look at his numbers from last year, 32 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 3 pass breakups. This is a player who's an overall disruptor. He lines up at any spot along that defensive line, and offensive lines literally have to account for him on every single snap because of all of his abilities to really beat you from that line of scrimmage, playing all along that line of scrimmage. Bull rush move, he's got it. Swim move, he's got it. If he wants to throw an offensive lineman down to the grass, he can do that as well. This is a special player. He comes with risk, but my goodness, if he works out, going to be an awesome pick for Philly, and him teaming up with Jordan Davis, I cannot wait to see the destruction that they can cause on the interior of that Eagles defensive line. So what was the best pick that the Eagles made here? We're going to run through all of them here, just like we just did, but in more detail. The best pick that the Eagles made. Let me know down in the comments section. I like Jalen Carter because I frankly love aggressiveness. As for what Mel Kiper had to say about Nolan Smith, Eagles able to get him at number 30. The Eagles might have gotten a premier edge rusher at the end of round 1. I thought Nolan Smith could have gone as high as number 8 to Atlanta. At 6'2", 238 pounds, he's undersized, but you can't teach his physical traits. Ran a blazing 4.39 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine, and we know that Howie Roseman builds through the trenches, and I love this addition. Look, you want to call him undersized at 238, that's fine, but Hassan Reddick is 242, and this Eagles defensive line, they're about 10 deep here. 10 quality players along this defensive line, and a lot of teams across the NFL wish that they had as much depth as Sean Desai now has at his disposal. This is the Eagles' first-string defensive line. Brandon Graham, 11 sacks last year. Fletcher Cox was 7. Going to need a big leap from Jordan Davis in year 2. Josh Sweat had a career-high 11 sacks. Hassan Reddick had 16 a year ago. Then the Eagles' second-string defensive line. You get a former first-round pick and Derek Barnett back coming off that torn ACL. Jalen Carter, Milton Williams as your backup defensive tackle. Shenarius Robinson, pretty solid athlete. Then Nolan Smith is your Sam backer and edge rusher on that second-string defensive line. Look, I believe that you build your teams inside out, along the trenches. Eagles have the best offensive line in football. They might have the best and deepest defensive line in football. That's how you win Super Bowls, because you can control the line of scrimmage. Of course, you got to get the quarterback. News alert, Eagles have their quarterback. So what do you think? How many sacks will Nolan Smith have as a rookie? I'm going to go 5.5 as the over-under. So you let me know what you think down below in the comments section. Now let's go to Tyler Steen here. Somewhat of a controversial pick, according to some, but I thought that the Eagles needed to address offensive line at some point in this draft. I'm glad they didn't go Peter Skoronski there at 9 or 10, because the Eagles do a masterful job of developing offensive linemen, and they have the best offensive line coach in the NFL in Jeff Stoutland. So you can get quality players in the 3rd round, which is what they did here with Tyler Steen. Offensive tackle Tyler Steen, Kiper said, has some interesting traits if he can improve his technique, and he might also move inside to guard, I would have gone with Jair Brown or Riley Moss over Sidney Brown at 66 if I were taking a safety, but I don't have a huge issue with the Eagles preferring Brown. So Kiper talking about the latter pick there in Sidney Brown, who we're about to talk about. As for Tyler Steen, I like him because of his experience. I like him because of his positional versatility. I like where he played at Alabama and the competition he played up against. I mean, he was pitted up against some really good defensive linemen and some really good edge rushers. Going to be the same deal at the NFL level. 4-year starter at Bama for Saban. He began his career actually playing defensive tackle at Vanderbilt. I think he moves really well for his size, has some balance issues, but you go into Jeff Stoutland University, you're going to graduate, you're going to be pretty well off. Kiper on Sidney Brown. He's undersized, but he tested well during combine workouts. 6 interceptions last year. Roseman went back to Georgia with cornerback Keely Ringo at 105 on day 3 for a nice value. I never bought in on Ringo as a top 40 guy. He's too inconsistent, but he has some upside if he can take the next step. Moro Jomo, 249, solid depth defensive tackle in round 7, late there in that final round. For Sidney Brown here, guy just has a knack for making plays, and he has that blue-collar, lunch pail to work type of mentality, and we know the Philadelphia fans are really going to like that because this guy gives 110% on every single snap. I mean, he's a dog, and he plays really, really hard. He's a good athlete with the rip frame. He definitely maximized his frame for sure. The testing numbers I thought were really impressive, and that's probably what swayed the Eagles to take him at 66. Plenty of experience at Illinois, too, so the Eagles might need him to play from the jump. Well, he played for the best college defense last year in the nation in the Fighting Illini, and he played a lot at Illinois. Brett Bielema, Lovie Smith before that, 6 picks in 2022. He does miss too many tackles, 15% missed tackle rate last year, which is a little bit of a concern, but I just love his physicality, forced fumbles, interceptions, box safety. He can play on that back end as well. I like the selection. As for Jair Brown, who the Eagles passed up on, for Sidney Brown, I think that he's a dog out of Penn State. Similar attributes, similar style, hard hitter. He's not afraid to put his helmet on the ball carrier, and a very instinctual player who can play around the line of scrimmage, box safety guy, can force fumbles, sack the quarterback, but also pick some passes off. But Brown is too, though. I mean, like I said, very similar players. Mel Kiper overall on the Eagles draft here, with Carter and Smith filling clear needs and the trade for running back DeAndre Swift filling another. I really like this class. Howie Roseman, he has done it again. And we've talked about DeAndre Swift a couple of times when the news broke, and then I talked about him yesterday too. He led all running backs in yards per touch last year, and he's never really been a durable, bona fide number 1 back. Doesn't need to in this Eagles offense. You have Jalen Hurts, who can run it, Kenneth Gainwell, you signed Rashad Penny, you brought back Boston Scott. We'll see if Trey Sermon is now in the hot seat here with the trade acquisition of DeAndre Swift, but Swift, very, very special player. Was it a special draft? You let us know down in the comments. Grade the Eagles draft here, A, B, C, D, or F. We want to hear from you. Go Birds, EAGLES, and go Sixers as well. James Harden popping off for 45. If you love the Eagles, I imagine you love the Sixers as well, and F the Celtics.